Good morning on the third Sunday in Lent. The homily this morning is taken from John chapter 4, verses 5 to 42. Have you ever thought of water? And I mean really thought of water. Other than for showering or drinking or swimming in? Most people don't think about how much of the world takes water for granted. In our part of the world, it simply isn't something that you'll think will run out. You turn on the tap and the water comes out. We use water to cook with, to clean ourselves, to water our gardens, to quench our thirst, to wash our cars, to make our coffee and tea, and for many other different types of recreation throughout the year. If you told someone from many other places in the world, such as much of Northern Africa, that we use thousands upon thousands of liters of water to use washing our cars or for swimming pools, they would think you have gone mad. Water for them is definitely not in plentiful supply, so they see it as something precious. Water is reused over and over again. Where we think nothing of throwing out water that is too dirty or too warm to drink. The water that many of them drink would make our stomachs turn. Water is definitely something that is as precious as life itself for them. And then we hear from Jesus about water that is even more precious. A woman of Samaria is doing what she does almost every single day. She goes to draw water from Jacob's well, carrying a jug on her shoulder. Except this time, there is a strange person there. This stranger makes her take notice because he is a Jew, and he is getting ready to speak to her. This puzzles her because Jews weren't supposed to speak to Samaritans. Jews and Samaritans didn't like each other. And even more puzzling was the fact that this Jewish man was getting ready to talk to a Samaritan woman. This was strange enough for her. But also, as she came to the well that day, she was going to get something more. Something she didn't even know that she needed. The stranger asks her for a drink of water and then proceeds to tell her about living water. She is obviously puzzled and asks him where she can get some of this living water. And if this isn't enough, the stranger puzzles her even more when he reveals to her that he knows about her 5 husbands and the man with whom she now lives. This stranger, whom she has never met, knows all about her. He knows the person that she really is underneath all the pretense. When the disciples return to him, they are astonished that he was talking to a Samaritan woman. And after the woman had left in excitement, they were trying to get him to eat. And Jesus, being in a mood for puzzling people, said that my food is to be the will of him who sent me and to do his work until completion. I know of a few people, we all do, who say they don't need to go to church. They say that they can sleep in on Sunday mornings because they can worship in their own home, in their own way. They say that they can pray at home, read the Bible at home, and listen to Christian music, which helps to put them in a spiritual mood at home. Well, that is all true because we are Christians every single day of the week. And while this is better than nothing, it doesn't give them all that they need. Like the Samaritan woman, many people need something, and they often don't know what it is. Where do people go when they need something but they don't know what it is? They can go to the well of living water. So these days we don't have things called wells. So wells aren't really relevant to most people today. You don't see wells like Jacob's well in our everyday lives and in our modern towns and cities. While this is true, it is also untrue. The well that provides living water doesn't look like a well out of some Old Testament story. It looks like an altar. The Lord's Supper is our well, where we can come to be nourished by this living water, and the table of the Lord's Supper cannot be found at home or on the beach. You must come together with others at a church to find this altar. And at this altar we gather to receive both. The things that we do know we need, as well as the things that we don't know we need. God knows that we need even more than we do. The one who knew us while we were still in our mother's wombs knows us as we really are. The woman at the well discovered that Jesus knew her true self, and this is also true for us. To the Lord's table we bring our fears, our sins that we cannot bear, our aches and pains, our sorrows, our regrets, our loneliness and our emptiness. We bring all of this and more to the Lord's table when we receive the living water and food of grace. This water we do not take for granted. This water we value as beyond precious. The reservoir for this water is unlimited and it is unending. We come to the well, to the Lord's table, to receive that which we aren't even aware of, just like a certain woman of Samaria. We come to meet this stranger who is our friend and our family. We come to meet him there to be filled in ways that we cannot describe. Water jars are also not a common thing in our world. We have cups and glasses and water bottles and canteens, but we don't really use water jars. But even though we don't use water jars, we do know what they are for. We do know what the Samaritan woman was bringing her jar to the well for. She was going to fill it up with water, and then the jar would be emptied, at which point she would return to fill it up again. This is not exactly rocket science. But what is interesting is that the Samaritan woman left her jar there. A jar that is precious to them because it contains water that keeps them alive. And most of them would only have had one jar in their home. She left her water vessel, the object that was so important in her everyday life. She left it there. She left it there and returned to the city. She exclaimed to the people, come and see a man who told me everything I have ever done. She left the water jar there because after talking with Jesus, she herself became a vessel. She left that vessel that was filled with living water, and she returned to the city to empty it, as she told everyone who would listen about this man and this water. We are all water jars. We are all water jars that are made to be filled, emptied, and then filled again. We come to the well, the Lord's table, to be filled with the living water and food of pure, refreshing grace. We come to the well to be filled with what we know we need and with what we don't even know that we need. And full to the brim, we are called to go out to the people of the town and exclaim, come and see. Come as you are with all your burdens and be filled to the brim. At this well you will receive no condemnation. You will only receive love shown in pure grace. We know that we will meet the true presence of Christ at this table. We know that we need to meet him there. We know that we need to meet him there to be filled, and once filled, nourished and strengthened, we leave the doors of the church ready to go and empty those jars and exclaim, "Come and see. Come and taste and see that the Lord is good." Once you have emptied your jar during the week, return again and be filled again and again with the living water of God. Amen.